Hi, welcome to today's version of Faces of Farming. I'm Cheryl Mitchell, the president of Trellivan Inc., which is a retreat and learning center, and also one of the farm to community mentors for NOFA, the Northeast Organic Farming Association. And it's my thrill and pleasure today to be interviewing Misse Axelrod, who's also a farm to community mentor, among many, many other things. So welcome, Misse.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So I thought maybe we could start a little bit about just you describing your farm as it exists now, and then we'll go back in history to see how you got here.
Sure. So we have a small family farm in Roxbury, which is just south of Northfield, north of Randolph, the other side of the Warren Mountain Road from the Mad River Valley. We're just tucked up in the hill there. We have about 28 acres, and we focus mostly on mixed vegetables that we raise for a winter CSA. We don't have a summer CSA, just winter.
That's very unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's small enough that I don't feel like we could do both the summer and winter. I'd rather focus on being able to do the quantity for the winter CSA.
Yeah.
So we're just growing everything throughout the summer that'll either be stored or canned or frozen for the winter, and enough for our family to eat as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we raise some different animals at this point just for the family to eat and some friends, but that it will also be added to the winter CSA. So we raise heritage Tamworth pigs, we have Highlander cattle that we breed and also raise for beef for ourselves, but eventually for the CSA as well, and then layer chickens. And so the farm focuses on vegetables, but we also like to focus on education as well, and incorporating community members and having it as a place for folks to be able to come and gather and have community gatherings, and also have children come and be able to learn and have hands-on experiences of where their food comes from, and have the connection of how it's grown, and the more times that they're likely to handle and have an experience growing food, the more likely they'll eat the different food items. So that's one of our main goals. So we host summer camps throughout the summer for younger children from 6 to 12 years old.
I'm just totally blown away by what you do at your summer camps. I'm wondering if you could you describe a day,
Sure.
say, at a summer camp?
Yeah,
Okay.
so each week has a different theme. The first camp that we did at the farm was farm and theater focused. And so in the morning they arrive, and once the whole group is there, we'll have a morning circle, and we'll do a little bit of a sharing, and then we'll start off with barnyard yoga stretches, where we'll just get them to start moving and loosening up, and maybe they'll do something silly. If it's theater focused, they might come up with a gesture that means their name. So if their name is Christina, they might have a little hop with their name Christina, just kind of a way to start moving and thinking about movement. Yeah. And then we'll go into the field and most likely harvest something that they're going to do an activity with that will then also lead into lunch. So
you've planted things already ahead that you'll have something
so
for them to harvest?
they're just working in the garden that's already there in the fields. And so I work the meals around what will be ready for them. And they'll also have the opportunity to do some of their own planting if the timing is appropriate for that. So they'll do some morning work or harvesting, and then we'll have an activity. One of my favorite things to do is called Posy Poetry, where I'll have plates set out with random food items. There might be strawberries, blueberries, maybe some dandelion greens, some arugula, spinach, and I explain the activity to them that it's a silent activity. They can't talk, they can use their senses, and they're going to go around and taste each item, and without making any sound or reaction, whether it's a good reaction or a not so good reaction, they have to quietly write down a descriptive word, and they put it face down underneath the plate. So every kid gets to go through and sample, and then I break them up into different groups. And they will have the opportunity to take, so if spinach was one of the items, that group will take spinach, and they'll take all the words, and they have to create a poem or a rap or an advertisement, and then they perform it to the whole group, and the group has to guess what food item they were. So they can't, in the wording, they can't say, I'm spinach and I was tasty. They have to use all the adjectives, and then everybody else guesses that they're spinach, and then all those items they'll make into smoothies. And each group gets to make their own smoothie, and then they'll get to taste the smoothie and share amongst the whole group.
What a cool activity. Wow.
So that's an example of an activity that we would do in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we would probably start with a craft project that has something to do with agriculture. We often make cement stepping stones, or they'll get to go and gather flower petals, and we'll make homemade paper that they turn into a cookbook at the end. And then they get to make their own lunch from what they harvested. And then if it's the theater themed camp, after lunch they'll do theater. So they get to learn about speaking in front of groups, they learn about acting, and then throughout the course of the week, or 2 weeks sometimes is the theater program, they will write a play together as a group and then perform that play. And the stipulation is that the play has to be written about farming and food. So one play they wrote was about Susie, the lazy farm daughter, who wanted just to go to the store and buy pizza. And Mom said, no, you can't go to the store and buy pizza. We have to go milk the cow to make the cheese, and you have to go pick the spinach to, and harvest the wheat to make the dough. And so they performed that for their families. So that's one example of our themes for
So
our
do the same kids come back every year? It sounds like the kind of thing that would be so exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So let's step back a little bit. You weren't raised on a farm, right?
I was not.
Why don't you tell us about your childhood and how you ended up becoming a farmer?
Yeah. I was raised in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, so the heart of farm country. Large Amish farms all around us, but we were not a farming family. Raised just south of the city in the country. After high school, I decided I wanted to take a year off before furthering education, and I wanted to do something that would be a really great learning experience. And I found a community called Camp Hill. There's Camp Hill villages throughout the world, and so I went to Kimberton, Pennsylvania, and lived in the farmhouse and helped take care of a couple of young children, as well as some mentally challenged adults that lived in the house. And I worked on the farm with them on a dairy farm. And that's where I fell in love with being outside and working with animals and the land. And I knew that was something I really wanted to do. And I really wanted to incorporate education or therapy into farming as well. And so from there I went to Green Mountain College in Poultney. And at that time there was a really minimal agricultural focus at that point. There was a couple sustainable agriculture classes and a really small garden with maybe 12 raised beds. And I worked with Philip Ackerman-Leist, who's still the farm and food director there. And the whole class, those of us that were interested, wrote a proposal to the board to extend the program there. And so I stayed during the summer and helped manage the gardens there and started bringing in some animals. And had my first experience there with a summer camp. We had written a grant, I think through possibly it was AmeriCorps at the time, and did a week with local kids and did a summer camp. And that I found just to be so exciting to see the kids on the farm and the excitement of working with the chickens and harvesting their food and making their own ice cream, that I knew that was something I would want to do in the future for a longer term.
How you found the farm in Roxbury? Randomly, or did you know what you were looking for?
I did first start a farm in Wells, Vermont. That's where I first started farming, raising pigs, and had a CSA there and did all the farmers markets in southern Vermont. And then my husband and I wanted to move north, and he's an artist, a photographer, and he's done some art shows in the Mad River Valley, and so wanted to look in that area and found our place first. It was the only place we looked at and wanted it right away. But it took about a year.
I can understand why I had a chance to visit it. It's just beautiful.
It's just really perfect. And so a year later we were able to obtain the farm and have been there about, I think, 8 seasons now.
And how can you talk about the role of NOFA in supporting you guys as farmers?
Sure. I first remember becoming connected with NOFA in college when Abby Nelson and Scout Proft, Scout's farm was really close to where I was living, hosted I think it was when the mentor program first started, a workshop on how to incorporate farming into school education, and I attended that. And so that was probably one of my first connections with NOFA, and learning about the different programs that were available. And I've attended many of NOFA's summer workshops, the winter conference, many workshops, and learning the different aspects of what I needed to know to be able to go forward with farming. And still lots of technical support if I am having issues with finding funding or connecting with a farmer who's doing something that I'm looking for information on. The connections that NOFA provides has been really vital to where we're at today with farming, definitely.
Well, it also feels like you're giving that back as a farm to community mentor.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how you started doing that and what sort of work you do as a mentor.
So I'm the farm to community mentor for Washington and Orange County, and I started, it's 2 years now, I think. And I really just wanted to be part of the NOFA team and help advocate and advertise and promote all the local farmers and be able to be the connection for support that they might need, or community members trying to find local food. And so I feel lucky to be able to have that position to help make those connections. So it's been a really great opportunity, and I feel like almost more than providing help, I'm learning so much from everybody that I connect with.
Yeah, I have that same sense.
Yeah, and learning about so many other farmers that are out there that I haven't heard of. Being able to reach out to them and vice versa.
You work cooperatively with some of the other farmers in the area, don't you?
Yeah, so our
Can you talk
CSA is
about
actually, we connect with one other farmer and we do it together. And then, so we take turns. We're both small farms, so we're able to actually incorporate our crop rotations amongst our two farms. So one season, I'll grow all the brassicas, and then I'll be able to take a break from growing brassicas and she'll grow them. Squash, we take turns, and so we're able to do a larger crop rotation, which has really been vital for our small property and small land mass that we're working with. So that's been really great. And
I haven't heard of that before. Is that an idea that you guys came up with? Or?
I'm sure there's some other farms working together as well. I know there's several that maybe aren't combining full efforts but are bringing in products from other farms and being able to expand what they have to offer. And then we will also be working with some other farms to offer other products like bread and cheese and butter and grains, most likely this winter as well. So being able to...
So your winter CSA is pretty comprehensive, it sounds like.
So not only do we include fresh vegetables, but we also have canned goods, frozen veggies, frozen berries. We also include a prepared dinner each pickup week. So we're able to have it as... We don't call ourselves chefs, we're farmers that cook. And the idea behind it is that a lot of people get kohlrabi in their CSA share and they're like, what am I going to do with kohlrabi? I don't know what to do with it. I've never had it before. So we'll prepare a dish with kohlrabi and we'll supply the recipe. So the next time they get kohlrabi in their share, they say, oh, okay, it is really tasty and here's what I can do with it. So it's kind of not just a nice, easy prepared meal for the members, but also an educational tool for them.
You do other value-added stuff, right? Don't you raise a lot of garlic? And you do?
Yeah, we do a lot of garlic, a lot of tomatoes that we use both the garlic and tomatoes and herbs for different spreads. We have a sun-dried tomato garlic spread, a roasted garlic and rosemary spread that we've sold at the farmers markets over the years, and different dinner mixes that incorporate the dried tomatoes. So there's Vermont polenta mix, that's the dried cornmeal with dried tomatoes and herbs, and all you have to do is add water, boiling water, and you can have polenta. So we have some kind of quick meal ideas that prepared that we have available as well.
Do you have a cookbook made out of flower petals, or?
No, but at summer camp they make their own cookbook, so I print all the recipes that they make, and they use the paper that they make for the cover of it, and then we always include a group photo from the camp that goes in the cookbook. But I don't have a cookbook. But we do provide recipes in all of our CSA newsletters each share week, which will be archived on the website during the season.
It just sounds like it's an incredible resource for people.
At this point, it's just available for CSA members, but maybe someday we'll have it available to the public.
You also work pretty closely with schools, right?
Yeah, so
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm a farm-to-school coordinator for the Washington South Supervisory Union, so Northfield and Roxbury schools. We're in our third year of, we're actually currently in the implementation grant of the Department of Agriculture farm to school grants that are offered throughout the state. So we wrote and received a grant where we can work on focusing on bringing farm to school into the cafeteria, purchasing more local ingredients from area farmers, and working on curriculum. That's been a really large focus of the school districts, and being able to offer the farmer correspondence program that NOFA has, where we write letters back and forth from the farm to the classroom, and they can have a field trip at the end of the school year, or in the fall as well. And working on different curriculum ideas, and then also focusing on community outreach and working with the community and offering workshops on how to start your own garden, how to preserve. So that's been a great project that I've been involved with.
Wow. You said that you just went on a lot of the field trips at the end of the year. Can you describe one or two of those?
Sure. The most recent one, we went to Fat Toad Farm in Brookfield, where they make goat's milk caramel, which is delicious. And so the students had the opportunity to take the school bus to the farm and have a full tour of how the milk gets turned into their value-added product. They had the opportunity to pet the goats, to go into the milking room, watch from outside in the window, to watch them packaging caramel, meet the farmer that wrote them the letters all winter, Judith, and be able to ask more questions, be able to thank her for her time for writing letters all winter. So it was a really great connection for them to see how farming really is a viable career in Vermont. And
do you think it's having that impact?
Do.
I know there was the dream that young people would start to think of farming as a viable career again.
The teacher said that half the class got back to the classroom saying, I want to be a farmer when I grow up. So we'll see how long that sticks with them. But I think just seeing that it's a real thing that's happening, and that connection to food definitely was very important for cultivating their interest at the least. Yeah.
It seems as if our concept of farm is changing too. I think when I first moved here 40 years ago, people would say farm and we would think, a huge dairy farm with an automatic milking parlor. And now farms such as yours seem to be, I don't know if there's more of them or they're just more visible. What's your sense about what's happening in agriculture?
It's definitely expanding. There's so many new farmer programs out there. There's lots of trainings available for people that are interested in becoming farmers, and I think it has expanded a lot. I mean, I've been in Vermont for 16 years, I think, and there weren't farmers markets in a lot of areas. Wow. I didn't know many young farmers, and if there was a farmers market, it was hard to get more than 2 growers to be at the market, and now there's a line of growers waiting to get into farmers markets. So I think it definitely is expanding, for sure.
Do you do the CSAs in the winter? Do you also do farmers markets?
I have a 3-year-old, and this is Rowan, a 5-month-old. I've taken a hiatus for the last 2 years on farmers markets, but we plan to start attending again next year. Definitely.
What was it like when you were doing it? How did you organize your life so that you would have time to do that and the farming?
Yeah, it's just incorporated into it. Every Saturday, go to market, have late night Fridays preparing, because I sold all of our value-add products at the market, more than fresh vegetables as of recent. And yeah, it's just part of the culture and the enthusiasm of being able to go out and meet the community members, and having that face-to-face interaction is so important and rewarding.
So you also said that you did on-farm events not just for kids, but for the community. Can you talk about what those look like? Yeah,
we have community farm dinners where we'll cook up a nice dinner. Most recently, we had a farm pork dinner that was pretty much everything from the farm, and so we're able to have people from the community come. And in the future, those dinners are going to be fundraisers for farm shares that NOFA offers, for the CSA shares, where folks might not be able to afford the full amount, and so they can apply and receive a discounted CSA share. Same with senior farm shares. And then I also will offer scholarships for summer camps. And so the dinners are one to help people come to the farm and see what's happening there, but also a fundraiser for those, so that we can provide food for everybody.
How do you deal with the liability issues, or insurance, or does the public health department say that you have to have a certain kind of kitchen to do that? How does that work?
Yeah. So we have to be fully insured, and we have a great insurance company that's able to walk us through for the different events or programming what the coverage needs to be. And there's all different kinds of state regulations to follow for kitchen use, and there's you have to be a certain size. If you're small and under a certain size, then you don't have to fall into those lines. And if you're larger, there are regulations to follow. So there's lots to look into, and to just make sure you're following everything and everything's secure and safe. And
it seems like you have
so
many different things going on. I'm curious how you came up with that business plan, and is it working for you, or do you have new things you're going to add in the future?
Yeah, so the really great part of all the different pieces is that they all fit together. It's one big whole circle. The farm to community mentor position with NOFA really fits in with the farm to school programming at the Northfield and Roxbury School, and it fits in with my farm mission of having farm and food education available to everybody. And so I really like how the whole picture really fits together. And in terms of adding, I just plan to increase more summer camps, more on-farm dinners, and to, that's probably the most that will expand. I don't see us adding any other adventures, maybe more fruit, and being able to have that available to the CSA.
Yeah.
But, it's what was really helpful is I took a whole farm planning class, holistic farm management, that was offered by the UVM Extension. That's still offered all the time. It's for women specifically.
Oh, that sounds great.
And so it was a whole winter where we met, I think it's once a month, and to really sit down and learn about farm business management and looking at the whole farm, and not just how do I raise vegetables, but looking at how to market and how to look at the whole community and the whole holistic approach. And so that was a really great opportunity to be able to sit down and really thresh out the mission, and looking at also the numbers and as well.
And thinking beyond your own farm, do you have a sense of where you hope that agriculture and community linkages are going in Vermont in the future?
Yeah, I hope it's going in an amazing direction, that's for sure. And I hope to see more farms growing, and there's so many outlets available, and the more opportunities there are for folks to keep learning like there is now, I think there's lots of opportunity. And a lot of people say small farms are becoming saturated, but I would definitely wouldn't use that word. I think that there just needs to be creativity in what's being grown and how it's being marketed, because I think don't quote me on it, but I think we're only 3% of our food in Vermont is coming from Vermont, or 2%.
So we have lots of room for growth here.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I see that Rowan's waking up, so maybe we should get close to closing. Is there anything else that you'd like to... Hi, Smiley. Anything else that you'd like to talk about that I didn't ask?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think just cultivating more farm experiences for all ages is really a great direction that farming is going in, and that it's not just people raising food and saying, okay, find a place to buy it, find a way to eat it, but there is so much education on where to find your food and how to cook it, how to preserve it, how to bring it into the classroom.
I love the work that you're doing in tying sort of farm-based education with the standards, so that teachers can feel as if they're meeting those, that it's not an add-on, that's sort of an integral part of the curriculum.
Yeah, and Vermont Feed and Shelburne Farms does a really great job too with incorporating the curricular tie to farm to school, which is really important for teachers and educators.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming this
Thank
year.
you.
I've learned so much being, sort of your new peer on the Farm to Community Mentoring Program, and I really appreciate having such great role models. I'm thrilled by what you're doing, and
Thank you.
thank you for sharing it.
Thanks. Thanks
And
for having
Rowan,
me.
thank you for coming. Waking up under bright lights. Huh? Right. So if any of you would like to be in touch with Misse, her contact information will come up shortly. And I'd also like to thank the Middlebury Community Access television station for hosting this show. They're incredible people, and if you have a nonprofit and you'd like to get the word out about what you're doing, come and talk with them. Thanks.